Mohamud? Hey, Congresswoman Omar, exactly which country are you representing here? Because, folks, it sure seems to me like Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is a little bit more on the Somalia first side of things. But also, take a look at this. Somalian President Hassan Mohamud, that Ilhan Omar seems to love so much, isn't exactly the greatest guy. You see, about a decade ago, an international corruption court found him guilty of stealing tens of millions of dollars of relief money being sent from the U.S. to Somalia. He's also been found guilty of funding and arming the radical jihadist terrorist group Al-Shabaab, and he also has a penchant for silencing any Somalian media that doesn't support his regime. So pretty much he's a corrupt terrorist supporting authoritarian. I think that's fair to say. But regardless, Ilhan Omar loves him anyway. He's our great president. But hey, you know what? Now that I think about it, it's a little bit weird to consider that Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has a little bit of a soft spot for authoritarian leaders, considering she said this just the other day.
We are witnessing a constitutional crisis. We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like. When you gut the Constitution and you install yourself as the sole power, that is how dictators are made.
So just to make sure I understand all of this, Trump is bad because he's a literal dictator, but the Somalian president who's executing members of the media, funding terrorist groups, and stealing humanitarian aid money, he's a great guy. This all seems just a little bit hypocritical. But okay, folks, what do you say we go ahead and move on to the main point of the video? Ilhan Omar is finally getting deported. But first, before we do, I want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. But okay, here's where today's story gets a little bit crazy. You see, in response to Ilhan Omar aiding and abetting illegal immigrants, Republican Congressman Brandon Gill posted, "We should have never let Ilhan Omar into our country, and America would be a better place if Ilhan Omar were deported back to Somalia." And you know what, guys? Do you even disagree with him?
I appreciate your time. I appreciate this conversation. I think it's really important.
So do I. Just yesterday, Congressman Brandon Gill promoted a petition to arrest and deport Ilhan Omar back to Somalia. That's right. What that means is that the ball is finally in motion. Things are finally happening.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A.1 of Rule 9, I seek recognition to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows.
Recognized.
Censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Whereas elected members of Congress take an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the United States without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. Whereas Representative Ilhan Omar took an oath of allegiance to the United States upon becoming a citizen, declaring, "I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen." Whereas on January 27, 2024, Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions. Whereas Representative Omar assured the Somalians she spoke to, the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia. Whereas Representative Omar continued, "For as long as I am in U.S. Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters will not be stolen by Ethiopia or others. Sleep in comfort knowing I am here to protect the interest of Somalia from inside the U.S. system." Whereas George Washington warned in his farewell address of 1796 to guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism, and further declared citizens by birth or choice of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. Whereas these statements by Representative Omar clearly violate the oath she took as an elected member of Congress to defend and protect the United States Constitution. Whereas Representative Omar has exhibited the treasonous tendencies George Washington warned about, and her actions must be condemned by all members of Congress who adhere to the oath they took upon assuming office. And whereas by openly admitting her efforts to advance Somalia's interest using her position as a United States representative, Representative Omar has revealed herself to be a foreign agent acting on behalf of a foreign government. Now therefore be it resolved that Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota be censured. Representative Ilhan Omar forthwith present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure. Representative Ilhan Omar be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker, and Representative Ilhan Omar be and is hereby removed from the Committee of the Budget and the Committee on Education and the Workforce.